Hi, welcome to Launch Day. Heidi and I are super excited to share with you the latest book in the Thompson Twins detective series. And I thought by celebrating we would read chapter 1 together. It just kind of sets up the mystery and gets you going. So, chapter 1, Mystery at the Comic Shop. When people first heard about the Thompson Twins, detective extraordinaire, they assumed they would be identical twins. That is, until they met Tony and Tina. Because Tony and Tina didn't have the same hair color, people would often ask, how are you even twins? Tina, or Tony, depending on whose turn it was introduce themselves and explain the difference between identical and fraternal twins as quickly as they could. After all, they were here to solve a case, not to give a science lesson. They were usually asked to solve a mystery, to figure out who took what or how something disappeared. Today, they had been called to one of their favorite places in the Twin Cities, Uncle Sven's comic book shop in St. Paul. Uncle Sven's was located between the Science Museum, which the twins visited often, and their Uncle Roderick's house, or Rod, as he liked the twins to call him. And the book 1 took place in the Science Museum, so this is just kind of right down the road from that. In general, the Thompson twins both loved visiting comic book stores with their uncle. Rod had made money in the tech industry and had a lot of free time on his hands. He often gave the twins a $10 budget to pick out comics or collectibles when they stopped at the comic stores. Tina enjoyed reading comics and would get lost in the boxes of back issues. Tony, on the other hand, preferred new collectibles. He was really into action figures and movies made from the comics. Just about every weekend, they would check out a new specialty store. Most recently, they had visited The Source, which claims to be the largest comic book store in the Twin Cities, and Comic Book College, which claims to be the oldest in Minnesota. Despite all the cool stores they visited, Uncle Sven's remained their favorite. It was a small comic book store, but there was a lot packed in there, and it was a convenient stop there on their way home from the Science Museum, so they were there quite a bit. When they got the call that Uncle Sven's needed their help to solve a mystery, they both jumped up eager to help. Jody, the manager of Uncle Sven's, was behind the counter helping another customer when the Thompson twins arrived with Rod. She smiled and waved at them. Thank you for coming, Jody said gratefully. Please give me a couple minutes to wrap up some things, and then I'll fill you in on why I called. No problem, replied Tony and Tina together, and Rod added, we'll just look around and see what's new. Jody smiled and turned back to the customer. The twins had easily made friends with Jody when they first started dropping by the store. Jody quickly learned what the twins enjoyed and started to pull issues from their favorite series or writers to keep in a box until the twins dropped by again. It felt very grown up to have a pull list like their uncle and to have comics magically waiting for them when they visited the store. As the twins wandered around, Rod dug into a box of comics labeled Marvel Comics Presents. Tina, he softly called, you'll never believe it. They have number 27. This had been a bit of a quest for the two of them. The Marvel Comic Presents comics weren't exactly the most valuable comics, but Rod's two favorite Marvel characters were Havoc and Black Panther. While he had the rest of the storyline that went from issues 24 to 31, somehow number 27 had eluded him. No way, Tina called from behind another stack of comics. And then Jody called to them from the counter. Thank you for coming on such short notice. She indicated with a wave that she was ready to fill them in on the mystery. Follow me. Jody led Tony and Tina over to the area of the store with action figures. Did you get something new? Tony asked excitedly. This is one of his favorite sections in the store. Quite the prize, actually. I've been eager to show you. Jody stopped in front of the shelf that held the Star Wars figures. Tony surveyed the shelf. Can you give me a hint? This shelf was his favorite part of the store, and he knew the collection inside and out, backward and forward. He was confused. There was nothing new here. He looked at Jody quizzically. I still can't believe it, Jody said, shaking her head. What? Rod asked, joining the group from behind the stack of comics. Jody was quiet for a moment. I should have known better, but I guess that's what I get for trusting people. You'd think in a community like this we wouldn't have to worry about this sort of thing. What happened? Tony asked. Well, to start, I got really lucky at a flea market, Jody began. People still go to those? Asked Rod. I haven't been to a flea market since I was a teenager. That's where I find some of my best deals, Jody said. The sellers will often give you a deal if they know you appreciate an item as much as they do. The twins looked at Jody, expecting her to continue, but it took her a moment. Finally, she continued, I found a rocket-firing prototype of Boba Fett. Tony gasped, You found one? Jody nodded. I thought those things were just a myth, said Rod. Fill me in, asked Tina. I know Boba Fett is a Star Wars character. Tony has some action figures of him. What's so special about this one? This is the holy grail of action figures, said Rod. Every serious collector wants to get their hands on a rocket-firing Boba Fett. Jody and Tony nodded along. Why? Tina asked. Because it was never widely available. If I remember right, it was too expensive to mass produce, Rod answered. I think I remember hearing it was thought to be too dangerous for kids, too, added Jody. Anyway, I had one yesterday, and today I don't. Tina glanced around the small store. The walls were lined with shelves. The shelves were lined with books and collectibles. The floor was a maze of tables stacked with boxes and boxes of comics. Under each table were more boxes filled to the brim with comics. There were lots of nooks and crannies where things could have fallen or been lost, but where to begin? Where did you see it last? Tony asked. Over there, next to the Han Solo and the Star Wars shelf. I set it there myself yesterday. I figured you two would be in sooner or later and I could show it to you. Jody gestured to the right, and the twins followed her hands with their eyes. I thought it might have fallen off the shelf, but I don't see it anywhere. Maybe somebody picked it up or moved it, or maybe somebody took it. Jody kind of trailed off. Do you have security cameras in the store? Tina asked. I do, said Jody, but honestly, I've never paid much attention to them or reviewed the tapes. I haven't had to. Crime really isn't that big of an issue here. Have you had a lot of customers since you put up the Boba Fett? Tony asked. A few regulars and some walk-ins, Jody replied. I do have a list of regulars because I fill their boxes weekly. Hey guys, I'm going to head back home. Too hungry to do this on empty stomach, said Rod. But if you need me, want some lunch, or need a ride anywhere, just let me know. Rod waved and headed to the door. And then you get to pretend to be the twins and figure out what they should do. And you have choices like you can search the shelf for the action figure. You can check the floor for the action figure. You can dig in the boxes. You can go watch the cameras for the security footage and see if you can find anything there. You can ask Jody more questions about Boba Fett or the action figure specifically. And you can get that list of regulars. And so you can kind of choose any one of those options, and then you determine where the story goes and when you're ready to see the solution. So thanks so much. I hope you enjoy it.